What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pod and Long. I am your host, Ryan. It's great to have you with us. I'm here with a couple of first round picks.
Oh, yes.
Megastar Mark and our buddy Drew. What's up?
Not much, sir. How are you doing, Mr. Number One overall pick?
I'm so excited that my son got picked number one overall. Yes, I realize that he has parents that aren't me, but I'm excited. I'm excited for Bryce Young.
The math can kind of work out that you could be his dad.
Maybe.
I mean, you know.
There's a whole athleticism thing too. That's standing in the way.
I assume that's like underlying with you.
Yeah.
We just don't see it.
As you saw in that Dr. Pepper commercial, he's clearly willing to accept new parents.
Right.
So you just porn yourself right in there.
I love that commercial.
That's like, exactly it.
I was on board with him. That commercial pushed me over the edge. I thought that was the funniest thing. He's good. He's what I described him once as Kyler Murray, but a good Kyler Murray, like in terms of talent on the field and like attitude off the field.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a nice young man.
He doesn't even know what Call of Duty is.
He's never played a video game in his life.
He played like Tetris, something efficient. That's what
he also. I like how he plays both sides of the fence because he likes Drake and J. Cole.
Oh,
he likes them both.
He's too young to know about Degrassi, I think, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So yes.
Tune in for myself and Drew's second podcast, the Degrassi-a-thon.
You know, so funny you mentioned that. A coworker was saying to me the other day, somehow Degrassi came up in a conversation. I forget what it was.
As it should.
Like,
of course.
He was like, hey, I remember that show. He goes, it kind of felt like those kids needed a guidance counselor. And I was like, no, the problem was the guidance counselor was part of the drama too.
Yeah, right.
There was no safe haven at that school. I mean, your student council president was the girl who had like a preteen baby and cut herself, I think. Like, this was the president.
That's the best of the best.
We seriously could do a podcast about Degrassi just because of some of it really was an insane show. And I distinctly remember like one of my other favorite shows is The Venture Brothers. And The Venture Brothers has that one moment where they reference Degrassi. And it was a weird combination. It's like when Lex Luger tweets about the Buffalo Bills. It's also weird for me.
I don't know how to feel.
Right. It's just like, I feel like these two, like this Venn diagram should not overlap. So.
Oh, we're here to talk about the draft. I love the draft. I've always loved the draft. People make fun of me because I like Hall of Fames and I like drafts.
No, that's
but I love them both. What are your opinions on the draft? You guys went to the draft, right?
We did. Yes. We did. We went to, what was it, 2007 or 2008?
Seven. Russell went number one.
Yeah, it was Jamarcus Russell.
Oh,
number
my.
one. But
I'm bringing up a terrible memory now.
Had an insane amount of Hall of Famers. Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas, Marshawn Lynch.
Not Jamarcus Russell.
Not Jamarcus Russell, right?
He didn't make it yet. Yeah.
But Darrell Revis, like a shit ton of guys. And we were there. And I remember, do you remember like when we were there, it was Goodell's, I think, first year as commissioner.
It was.
And he got on the mic at the end of like the 32 pick. And this is off the air. And he's just like, I just want to let you guys know you are part of the longest first round in NFL history because they didn't have the time limit adjusted yet. Yeah. And they're like, this will never happen again.
Yep.
It was.
I'm fixing this first.
A very long day.
Literally, the next year is when they went to the 12 minutes for the first round picks.
Yep. It was because it was obscene. Like we were there for, I think that first round was 6 hours.
6 hours and change just for the first round, just to watch the Chargers draft Buster Davis.
Yeah, right.
What was the structure of the draft then? Was it? It wasn't first round in one day, was it?
No, it was the old. It was the old. Saturday was 1, 2, 3. Sunday was 4 through 7.
Right. Okay. So that's a very long day.
Oh yeah, we only did the first round. We left at the beginning of the second, I think.
Yeah, we waited. I think we waited for the Steelers to pick in round 2 because they had like the 10th pick in the second round or something, and then we bolted.
Yep. Exactly.
What's it like being at a draft? Is it a fun experience to go to a draft? I mean, I love watching it, but is it fun to be at a draft?
It's an experience. Like, I mean, it's a lot of it is fake when you watch it on the, like, in terms of like all these, I'll bring up this thing. When we got there, our friend is a Steelers fan, and they farmed him away from our group and said, here, hang out with these other Steeler fans. And then they pan to them. And so like every time you see that, these people probably didn't come together. They're just there and they get a shot of them. That's
but
it's kind of the thing.
It's remarkable in that, like, you do really get a sense of camaraderie in
Yes.
the building among football fans. Like I remember we counted, even waiting in line for tickets, we and people around us started counting up fans of different teams. And by the time it was over, we had found at least one fan of 30 of 32 franchises.
Wow.
Do you remember the two that we didn't? Because I do. I remember one of them.
Houston,
yep,
which makes sense even now.
Yep.
And Kansas City, which I remain convinced there had to be a Chiefs fan there, and we just didn't see.
Right, we just didn't see. Right,
their fan base is too good to have not traveled at all.
Yeah,
but we had the singular joy of watching Dolphins fans brag about how they were going to get Brady Quinn, and then joining with 29 other fan bases in mocking them when they then took Ted Ginn and his family.
His family, yeah, right.
Ted Ginn.
Yep. And I remember, like,
and neither of those picks worked out well.
And I'll tell you how, when we got there at like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, because it was all first come, first serve. And we were they told us we couldn't line up. Remember this, Drew?
Yes.
They told us that we couldn't line up until like 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
When we got there, the line was probably, I mean, I don't know how many people were in Radio City Music Hall, but it was more people in front of us where we knew we weren't going to get tickets, right?
Yes.
We were all lined up. We were all going in a row, and it's kind of like a weird moment because you're like, oh shit, we're probably not going to go to this draft that we came to the city for. But then we found out around 6 a.m. that whoever lined up in the wrong spot. Right. So they instead of just organizing and moving, the NFL said, oh, you guys are all in the wrong spot. It's like 3 blocks that way. And so you had this.
It was the city.
Yes. Oh,
because
right.
Everybody was lined up at Radio City, but it had gone. It's hard to illustrate without pictures, but it went kind of down to the end of the block and then around the front of the building and then up the next block. And the city told Radio City and the league, like, no, you can't do that. It's got to be one line down one of the avenues. And so everybody had to reposition, and that turned into a full-scale mob riot at like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and Drew's not joking. We were all hauling ass because this was the way we got in, because we outran like parents with their kids or old people. We were just blowing by them, and we probably moved up, 1,000, 2,000 people because of that mad rush. And people in New York were like coming out of the clubs and like, what's going on? Because massive people in jerseys running by them.
Because last call in New York is like 4 a.m. right?
Yeah,
right when they decide to have everybody line up a different way. So like all of these girls are coming out of fashionable clubs downtown and just being swept under a tidal wave of people with foam cheese heads. It was unbelievable.
It was such an experience. But because of that, we got in, and then you basically get to the front of the line. They give you I think it was actually a physical ticket, if I remember.
Yes,
right?
It was. I still have it somewhere.
Yeah, and then they said come back at 11 or something like that. So I think we went to a diner or a breakfast diner or something like that.
Yeah.
And just waited it out, and then came back, and they just ushered us right in. They gave us a swag bag. Remember that?
Still have that
swag bag.
Yep, I have that too. Yeah, and it had like a little radio, and
that's cool.
And there was a draft magazine in there, and like some candy and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
wow.
It was pretty.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. And then our friend was sleeping next to other Steelers fans. I thought that was cute because we had been up since like 3. So like looked over, and he was like, the guy next to him was also a Steelers fan. He had like his head on his shoulder. And
just a couple
they
of
were both asleep. It was so adorable. Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
I like to think somewhere ESPN got a shot of that. A video of that somewhere. It's in their boots somewhere.
It's in the archives.
In their vaults. Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, these guys.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's dive into the draft. But before we do that, we have to talk about the Poochies, because the Poochies both came into the fold.
They did. Yeah.
Lamar is in.
Yep.
That was shocking. I mean, I kind of figured it was going to happen because of the Beckham thing. And like, how is he not going to ask for $5 more million than Jalen Hurts and just get in there at this point? Which seems like pretty much what happened. They're like, we'll just give you $5 more million. And he was like, cool, I got it. Good. I'm taking that 10% too. Don't have to give that away. Yep. So it all worked out. It was real messy, but it all worked out.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a lot of bridges were burned. Everyone seems cool with everybody. So, I mean, that's like the best you can hope for. Yep.
Yeah. He's back. It's fine. I like Lamar. I hope he does well. I think
Lamar.
I like the weapons that he's got now especially after the draft. I'm like, this is the best offense he may have ever had in his whole career.
Certainly the best receiving core he's ever walked into.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that's good. Unnecessary. Like, couldn't they have just figured this out like 20 months ago?
I mean, I said in the last episode,
Completely unnecessary.
The minute Josh Allen signed his contract, he should have been like $20 million more than that. And then it would have been like gold.
And that would have been enough, right?
And
they probably
such an anomaly for an organization that's usually so buttoned up.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But they never had any, they always felt confident to me, like, we're gonna get it done. Doesn't matter what he says, we're gonna get it done. Well, they got it done. Good for Baltimore fans, because I felt bad for those guys, because Lamar is like one of the best people to watch, and if you lose that guy, what are we doing?
Oh yeah.
Like, what are you cheering for in Baltimore? Oh my God.
I felt both sides had a good point. I mean, I really did. Like, I understand the Ravens' reluctance because of the injuries. I get it. I totally get it. But I also understand that Lamar Jackson's an MVP at 26. Like, yeah, man. Like, it's rare.
It never happens.
Yeah.
What about the other Poochie? Our guy, Aaron Rodgers, finally got traded.
Here's my initial takeaway from this.
Okay. All right, give me your take.
Is ultimately everything on paper seems fine, but ever since the trade, Aaron Rodgers, who reminder like a month ago spent like 2 weeks in a darkness retreat somewhere, and has spent some combination of the last like 15 years living in Green Bay, Wisconsin, suddenly is sitting courtside at Knicks games, and all that's well and good, except he looks so incredibly out of his element there. And then he's taking a bunch of selfies with Carmelo Anthony, and I'm not sure that's a good omen or not.
What sport could he go to and look normal at?
Hockey.
Lacrosse.
Right.
Lacrosse.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah. He's got a lot of West Coast in him for lacrosse, but hockey for sure.
Like he could, right. Yeah. I see hockey real. Yeah, he could be at a Rangers game. That's fine.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Poor Rangers.
Or the island. Oh,
they looked awful in Game 7.
Yeah, they really did. Yeah, they got thumped. Lindy Ruff bringing it.
Oh man, poor Rangers. They have like two of my favorite players that they traded for this year. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great.
Yeah.
Tarasenko, that guy's great. Oh no, didn't work out.
Patrick Kane,
like him as a player, not as a human. Not as a human. A fun player, not a fun human. Yeah. This Rodgers contract is insane. Like, wow. I don't think anybody realizes how much money he's gonna be owed because of the restructuring.
Yeah.
Because what's he making this year? They restructured
it's like
$1 million.
million.
So it's like nothing.
Yeah, on the books it's like $1 million. Yeah.
What is he owed next year?
It's like 104.
$104 million.
I saw that.
I mean, he ain't gonna get that, but like, it's still funny to see. He's a third of the Jets' cuts. All their contracts next year is one guy. A third of it is one guy.
Good luck. Good luck.
They should. I mean, obviously, they should definitely compete for the AFC East, and I think they will get into the playoffs. I love the offense, and I love I mean, obviously, Salah's always got a good defense, so I mean, it's the right move. It's a good move.
Yeah, and by the way, if they don't make the playoffs, there's a whole bunch of people that might lose their job.
Yeah, they will. I don't. They were close this year.
It's going to be a competitive division. It's a competitive division, though.
Yeah,
the Bills are really good. The Dolphins could be really good again.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots, I don't know about that.
We'll get to them.
We'll get to them. They did some weird stuff in the draft. They did some weird stuff. All right. Do you want to start this draft with a quick team check-in? Because I don't know if we're going to touch all the teams in winners and losers, but you want to start with a team check-in? My team.
Go. You start.
Want me to start?
Please.
Yes.
Bryce Young. Happy about it. Still not sure if I like him more than CJ Stroud, but I'm fine with it. I'm going to be fine with it. I love him as a person. I think he's a better human than CJ Stroud as far as like communicating, and he's going to win over the team and stuff. But he's so small. I'm so worried about how small he is. I watched a lot of film where people were like, oh, he's on his tiptoes and he has this little hitch step when he goes into a drop back where it's not like a traditional drop back. He hitches his hip when he goes back. So he's going to be more successful. He's tiny.
Yeah, but like, I mean, isn't he like Kyler Murray sized?
He is. He's
And
the
Kyler
same
He's
Murray-
height.
not as jacked though.
No, he's
Yeah,
not.
but
Kyler Murray's legs are huge.
Give him a year or two in an
Yeah.
NFL weight room, and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't have
Right.
any concerns about him not being
Yeah.
able to play this game.
We'll see. I don't know if the other picks really mattered too much to me, but I like Mingo. I like getting Mingo, the receiver from Old Miss.
Right. Yep.
Had to get a receiver. I think
He's tall too. He's like
Yes, he
he's
is.
yeah.
he's somebody
he's a
that
gamer.
we need somebody like that. Somebody who can get in the trenches and get hit up the middle. You know, we don't have that player, so I like that pick. Probably some better guys on the board, maybe taken before him, but I like that. I like that pick. I think he's going to be an important guy. So fine, happy with it. No complaints. Who wants to go next?
Buffalo's next alphabetically.
Buffalo, you have to go next.
Good. I mean, honestly, I love the first round pick of Dalton Kincaid. He's somebody I really wanted.
Luxury pick.
I thought they would never do it because they already had Dawson Knox in, but they ended up getting him. And during this draft, I began to realize, I think I figured out what it is. I honestly believe this, and I'm not joking about this. I think Ken Dorsey's trying to recreate the 2001 Hurricanes, like as the offensive coordinator, because they ran that 2 tight end set with Kellen Winslow and Shockey. Right. They had a banger running back who poops in closets. They had the slasher running back, you know, like it's so like he's really trying to build that up. And they had great big fat guards. Second round, they drafted Osiris Torrance, big fat guard. So
okay,
I like that idea. I like that they're giving Josh Allen a lot of help. I think Kincaid opens up a lot. I mean, the Bills don't have a player like him, and I think that really helps that team tremendously. So
can I ask a question that we probably shouldn't answer?
Sure.
Were all of the tight end prospects in this draft white?
Other than the guy the Raiders got.
Yes.
Yes. Who I loved, by the way. I really like him.
Yes, I do too.
Who's the
one
big
of my
guy?
favorite picks? That was him. That was Dwayne Washington. That was the guy the Raiders got.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that guy's huge.
No. Raiders didn't get Washington.
Oh, sorry. No, that was Steelers.
Raiders
I'm sorry. That was Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers took Washington.
Steelers.
Raiders took the one from Notre Dame.
Yes.
He's
right.
enormous.
Mayer, right.
Yeah. Darnell Washington.
Mayer's good too, though. I mean, yeah, you're right.
Mayer's really good.
A lot of them were whiteys.
Darnell Washington, 6'7", 270 pounds.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah. Wow.
Also, I told this.
That's a guard.
I texted this to Drew on the draft. The Bills took some receiver in the 5th or 6th or whatever it was, but he played for Florida, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't know who this is. Let me just YouTube some highlights for him, right? And when I'm YouTubing highlights of him, Anthony Richardson is his quarterback. Okay. Yeah. So when you're watching this, these aren't Anthony Richardson highlights. These are highlights of the receiver. I came away less impressed with Anthony Richardson after watching another player's highlights than I did. So many of those passes to this receiver, the receiver's just sitting there waiting and just there's nobody around him and the ball's just hanging. And he's like, anytime, come on. It blew my mind that this guy went like 4th overall.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him a lot, I think, in a minute.
He's going to start. Did you hear that?
That's the part that blows me away.
Yeah.
Right.
How is that? Why?
That's such an awful idea.
Cocaine owner just wants him to start.
Cocaine owner. Okay. Raiders. What about the Raiders?
By the way, can I toss one thing in on the Bills?
Sure.
Third round, Bills take Dorian Williams, Tulane.
Yeah.
That dude is a gamer.
Is he?
He can.
I know nothing about him.
He plays bigger and faster than his stats would indicate.
Oh.
Like he's one of those dudes who's you have to watch the tape and not look at the metrics.
Right. And I think and I think I'm guilty of that because I looked at this guy and I'm like, all right, he's 6 whatever, 1 or 2, and he's like 230. And I'm like, that's not a middle linebacker to me. But
his football IQ is through the roof.
Yeah, well, that's good.
He's really, really good.
Is his comp Dat and Win? 45 tackles a game. I love that guy. He was like 5'8".
Yeah. Well, they need somebody to replace Tremaine Edmonds, so I'm sure he'll get a shot in training camp. So
your tight end, I watched Utah play like 4 games. I don't watch a ton of college football, but for whatever reason, I kept seeing Utah. And that guy had like 20 catches against USC or something like that in that one game.
Yeah, it was obscene.
He was an absolute monster in that game. So I think that's going to be good for you.
Yeah, he adds, like I said, the Bills, if they're going to run a 2 tight end, he's fantastic. I think they're probably going to use him in the slot. I think they're probably going to move
Why
him all
not?
over the place. So yeah.
Why not? Nice weapon. Nice luxury pick. All right, Raiders.
Raiders.
Drew.
I know you're just waiting for me to come out and shit on the Raiders. I do it a lot. The Raiders I'm actually generally okay with.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
did they reach maybe a little bit by 4 or 5 picks on Wilson? Probably. Would I have preferred that they go corner there because they desperately need a cornerback and have for 7 or 8 years? Yeah, probably, but I'm not upset. Like, you have to be able to get to the quarterback, and if their idea here is to team him with Crosby, then that helps your cornerbacks anyway. And he's big and he's long. Like, I'm sure they look at him and just have echoes of Ted Hendricks in their head, and they decided to go with that, and that's fine. I have no fundamental problem with that. Tight end in the second round, I think, is great.
Yeah,
nice tight end.
He's a super talented player. You know. And that's obviously a position of need after they traded Waller and had basically, you know, I think they went out and signed like Austin Hooper and some other guy that's banged around the league.
And Foster Moreau's gone, right?
Exactly.
He has cancer too, or whatever, right?
Yeah. So
crazy.
You know, and you know, Austin Hooper is a name you remember, but unfortunately, you also remember him as the guy who always gets hurt. So, like, go ahead, go get your big tight end that's going to be there after your coach is gone. You know,
there it is.
And then in the third round, you know, you take a defensive tackle from Alabama. Fine, you know,
you can never go wrong taking a defensive tackle from Alabama.
Interior defensive lineman from Alabama, and then they draft a wide receiver from Cincinnati. That guy's a gamer. He's had a few big games for them. Obviously, you know, Cincinnati played out of their minds a couple of years ago, and then you know, again, had a good season last year. So like, they get some dudes who have some big game experience. After that, you're rolling the dice anyway. So I'm generally pleased. Did they pick all the things that I would have wanted? Not necessarily, but I'm not standing here going, damn it, they took Sebastian Janikowski. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in that boat. So it's all good for me.
A lot of people were talking about Tyree Wilson as a top pick, potentially
right.
over Will Anderson.
Overall. Yeah, well, not the second overall.
You got
second overall. Yeah.
Right.
So what am I doing? Complaining? Not at all.
No.
He could be. He's more of a ceiling guy, right, than a floor guy. Is that what?
Yeah. Well, that's the only problem with him is like he could be great. Mm-hmm. There is a realistic chance he could be nothing, but sometimes you got to take that chance.
No, I mean, the positive I can say is he wasn't involved in the death of 2 people, like a certain other guy who we apparently were just supposed to forget that one.
Just forget about it.
Yeah, he's fine.
Just forget about that, guys. All right, we did our team check-ins. You want to do winners first or losers first of the draft?
Winners first. I don't think it'll take us long.
Yeah.
Okay, winners. Give me a winner. Let's go first. Give me a winner.
I'm gonna, because this is actually, I'm gonna save Houston because Houston is both winner and loser. Somehow.
I was gonna say, where do we put Houston? Because I don't think they're a winner.
Winner for me, Tennessee.
Yes, I had Tennessee as well in my top 3. Yep, right.
You know, because they did everything right. Like, they took a big offensive lineman who's got a real nasty streak in him to keep their quarterback upright, whoever their quarterback ends up being. Mm-hmm. Then they get Levis, who I know like none of the 3 of us is really in love with, and he's afraid of milk. But
and he puts mayo in his coffee,
and he eats bananas whole.
Right, but on the, like, you get a guy with a first round grade in the second round. At a position that they don't know what the future is there, but it's also not critical that they have that piece right away.
Right.
And I feel a little bit bad for Malik Willis because it feels like the ship has sort of sailed on him already.
Oh, he was done last year. Man. They played Todd or what's his face over him.
The thing I keep thinking about is like, there were a whole bunch of people who had first round grades on Malik Willis, and then he slid to the 3rd round. I can't think in my memory of any player who has slid multiple rounds that has come back to prove people wrong.
No. Sure.
And so, you know, the smart money is one thing, but there's sometimes that I think the teams have access to information that like the rest of us and even the media members don't. And clearly somebody knew something about Malik Willis and word got out.
Yeah.
And then in the 3rd round, they take Tajay Spears, again, a Tulane guy. He's fantastic. Like, he's not going to blow you away with his speed or anything. That's not his game, but he does a little of everything. He'll be a perfect spell to Derrick Henry. You can hand him the ball 25 times in a game if you need to. Like, and I think he's like a 60-year senior or something like that between like red shirts and COVID eligibility and all that stuff. So like, He's got his head screwed on straight. He knows how to play the game. He's a professional practically already. Like, they got a really good pick there. And then they take another Cincinnati tight end where Cincinnati just pumps out tight ends at this point. So, like, I thought Tennessee did really well in their first few rounds.
They definitely did.
Yeah.
And Drew, you know who's a big fan of Will Levis?
Oh, I can't imagine.
Killer Greg.
Is he really?
Huge.
Do we have to read the exact text that he sent? Because it just cracked me up so much when he starts complaining about Skoranek. But it's like, Skoranek, I know he's good. I know I'm supposed to like this pick, but he's boring. I don't want this. I would prefer Will Levis, a weirdo, phobia weirdo, so I could be entertained. And then when he actually gets picked.
Greg should be careful about like wanting weird picks, because I remember the first thing he said when Tennessee drafted Pac-Man Jones was, "Can we give him back?"
Can we give him back? Not a fan of Pac-Man. No. It's funny because you mentioned the Dorian Williams going to the Bills. That when I did watch a surprising amount of Tulane because they were on TV a lot. They had a good season. Spears was the one who blew me away. He was, because he's an all-around back. He can catch, he can run. He even for his size throws blocks, pretty aggressively, in pass protection. I liked him a lot. I thought he was a steal in the third round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I thought the Steelers had an excellent draft. Yes. I mean, starting with Roderick Jones. I mean, I feel bad because the Steelers have seemingly always been looking for an offensive tackle. It seems. I think this is it. I think this is the guy. He is a monster of a man. He's going to wall off that. He's going to protect baby hands. Great pick. And it's like, that's exactly where you wanted to get him too. Like, it wasn't a reach. It was perfect. Joey Porter.
Baby hands.
I'm sorry. Like, that was one of the coolest moments. Like, Joey Porter Jr.
That was
going
cool.
to the Steelers. I was so in love with that. I thought
cool.
that was the coolest thing ever. And not only that too, it's not like this is a dude who should have gone in the 4th or the 5th and was just, a courtesy draft. This guy is going to be a great corner in this league. He gets to play where his dad played. I love that. I just absolutely love it. I mixed up because I was thinking Washington went to the Raiders, went to the Steelers.
Another great pick.
One of my favorite players going into this draft. The Steelers are still ground and pound, so he is going to be basically a 6 offensive lineman for him.
Yeah.
And then occasionally sneak out in the, do the fall down, get back up rule and get back in the end zone for a touchdown.
And Baby Hands needs that guy. He
does.
Desperately needs the big guy to throw to. And yes, we refer to Pickett as Baby Hands if you don't.
But even then though, like in the late rounds, they got Corey Trice, who was supposed to go in like the 3rd or the 4th. Kuiper was really big on him. I did a little research into him afterwards. He looks great. They got value at every single pick, and every single pick is somebody who can help out immediately. And you can't say that about a lot of drafts. Most of the time, 5th and 6th and 7th are guys who aren't even going to make the team. I think all these guys make the Steelers, and I think all of them all of them contribute right away. So great draft. I was blown away by that one.
Amazing what a good organization can pull off.
Another winner for me.
Yeah, give us a winner.
Jacksonville.
Okay.
I thought Jacksonville takes another big offensive lineman to keep Lawrence upright. They get him another tight end. Like, they're just trying to put weapons around him. And then way down in the bottom of the 7th round, they took a kid from Houston named Derek Parrish, who was team captain of Houston's defense. He had 5 sacks in 4 games before he tore his bicep and missed the rest of his senior season.
Ooh, okay.
He's Mark's gonna laugh because he knows what I mean when I say this. He's a high motor defensive end.
Got it. Yep.
And ultimately, from what I'm reading, they're actually saying they might have drafted him as a fullback, which he played some in his younger days in college. We'll see if that translates. But here's a guy that if he plays his entire senior season is probably more like a 4 or 5 round pick and not a 7 round pick. Nice. So they get pretty good value on a guy who was the heart and soul of a defense on a team where he wasn't even playing. He was always on their sideline running up and down, talking to guys so they get really good value in 7. So I thought Jacksonville came away with a good draft, both from the players who ostensibly will contribute early and then from a guy that they took a flyer on way late.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give a winner to the Seahawks. I love what they did. They got a corner. They desperately needed a corner there. I kind of like that fit. And JSN, late round receiver, I think is going to be a real nice weapon for Geno Smith. And they did some other things too, but I thought they nailed their first round for sure.
I thought, no, it's great. You're right. And the Seahawks did, as much as I fucking hate Pete Carroll, that was a good draft.
So. They had a good draft.
Thought the Giants did pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not bad.
You know, like they got what I liked is like I like them getting Jalen Hyatt in the third. That guy I thought was going to go in the first round.
Yeah.
That dude looked great. He looked really, really good. So getting him late, giving another weapon to Daniel Jones. They got the best ranked center, which, listen, once again, pair him with your young quarterback.
That dude can play, by the way. Like he looks, you see him with his helmet off, he looks like he's 30 years old already, and that he's, you know, coming back from the war and using the last of his eligibility. That dude is a gamer.
the Arn Anderson look. God, perpetually 40. Yeah, right.
Oh God. Okay. Any other winners? Eagles? You think the Eagles are a winner or a loser?
I actually have the Eagles as a loser, and I think I'm the only one in America who does.
I don't like their draft either. No, I don't like their draft either.
Okay. Okay.
It's you remember those years where, Mark, you would remember them well. You remember those years where Rex Ryan was like, I take dudes from Clemson because Dabo's got them playing the right way and they know how to ball, which is a fine theory, but like not all of those guys are going to pan out. And the Philadelphia Bulldogs have decided that they want every Georgia player they can get their hands on, which is all well and good, but like not all of those guys are going to be stars on the defense. Like the closest analog was the 2011 Alabama defense, which if you look at them was highlighted, yes, by CJ Mosley and Dante Hightower, but they had like 7 first-round picks or first and second-round picks on that draft. And outside of Hightower and Mosley, all of those dudes range from like average to bad.
Right.
You know, like HaHa Clinton Dix is in there. There's some other guys.
Yeah.
What the hell is his name? Mark Barron, I think was one of those guys. So like, I don't necessarily love just Philly putting all of their eggs in the Georgia basket over the past couple of years.
Yeah. I guess I don't mind the, like, these guys are falling, let's scoop them up kind of strategy about it. Like, maybe not all Georgia guys, but I don't mind like Nolan Smith falling to 30 and like, fuck it, let's take.
That's actually, I thought that was a great pick of all the picks they made. Like, I thought that one was good.
Yep.
Yeah. The Jalen Carter thing, like, I heard somebody describe it as like, oh, well, they're gonna get him into their building and they're gonna, you know, work with him and he's gonna be fine. And somebody brought up like, but it's all Georgia people and he wasn't fine there. So what makes you think that that's gonna change at all?
Right.
Maybe it will. I don't know.
I had a bad taste in my mouth with how everybody presented before the draft that we're supposed to forget what happened there. And I know he wasn't indirectly involved. I understand, but it's still weird. It's still weird that he left the scene. It's still weird that he lied. It's just like all those little things make me think that this guy, you know, I don't know. I'm not very talented, but there are a lot of guys who are super talented.
Didn't he show up to the combine overweight and not able to finish the one?
Didn't finish his drills.
He couldn't finish his drills because he was so overweight and he couldn't do it. Like, that's not good.
Can we? This is maybe not the forum for this, but like, can we reflect for a minute that I think he did not fall as far as Laramie Tunsil did with with the bong gas mask. Like, what are we talking about here?
I know.
Right. Totally different.
Yep.
Laramie's laughing all the way to the bank. Too.
Yeah, right. I think this is his 3rd contract now.
Yeah. I mean, he's just raking in cash. Weed is legal. He's raking in cash. He's got those gas masks piled up. He's ready.
Yep.
He's good to go. No taxes in Texas, right? All right, give me another loser. You got any? Speaking of Texas, you want to put them in the loser column, or you want to put them in the
Drew?
winner
Let me hear your thoughts on them.
Yeah, let's Houston find out about this.
Houston to me is protecting the Orton line of the draft, and that I think they had both a good and bad draft. Because they get a quarterback, who's not overtly a screw up. Then they trade back in and get arguably the best defensive player in the draft. So like they're building towards something, and they pay a high price for this. But listen, like, is there anybody next year in next year's quarterback class who right now you think is as good as Stroud? Probably not. Is there another edge rusher that you think is as good as Will Anderson? Probably not. It's believed that he's like a generational talent. So get your 2 guys right now and don't worry about it. And then they go and they draft Tank Dell out of Houston, who he's a lot like Santana Moss in terms of like talent and ability and size. He does have a reputation for being kind of petulant.
Oh,
So
boy.
we'll see how that plays out. And he's at the NFL level. I have a feeling he's strictly a slot guy.
Oh yeah.
Which is fine. You can make a lot of hay in the slot. I'm not arguing that. But like they get Tank Dell, who is the definition of mercurial receiver.
Yeah.
And then they trade Brandon Cooks, which I'm fine with, because Brandon Cooks is like forever going to win my annual Keith Van Horn award for the guy that like teams trade for and say, this is our final piece. And then he never wins a championship and gets traded again. Like the dude, for a dude with 6,000 yard seasons, why has he been on 5 teams in his career?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm fine with that. But then they go and pick up Robert Woods, who's basically the same guy but crappier.
But worse, yeah.
So like, and again, who is on his 4th team now? So like, you traded one journeyman guy for another journeyman guy. That's the part I didn't get. But like, I think Houston did some really good stuff for a change, which I'm not used to saying because they've been mismanaged for virtually their entire existence. And then they made a couple of head scratchers. So I don't know. I don't know. It really all comes down to how good are Stroud and Anderson. That's going to be, if they both hit, this draft looks amazing. Doesn't matter what happens to the other guys.
Right. There's a lot of dysfunction there. I feel like this didn't go the way it should have gone, right? Because we saw the owner was like,
had to step in.
I need
something.
to get a quarterback. Like, you're not taking Will Anderson. And obviously there was something going on there. Something was not right. Because they wanted Bryce Young and they were going to not take a quarterback, even though I still think Stroud is good. I think this is a really bad situation for him to be in. That's my concern, is that he's going into the worst of all the quarterbacks. He's going to the worst situation of all of them.
Yeah. And by the way,
no
I don't
weapons at all.
Yeah. No. And by the way, what are you talking about? They have Robert Woods.
Yeah.
I agree with you in that it's the worst situation for him, but not because of him.
No.
If it had been reversed, if Stroud goes 1 and Young goes 2, Young now enters into the worst situation.
Absolutely.
For him.
100%.
I mean, the organization of the Texans they got rid of that one guy who was kind of like a hanger-on in the front office. I forgot who his name is, and he was really doing a lot of damage to him, and he's gone now. So I feel like that's a step forward. But if these rumors are true, and this is like your coaching staff's first decision, and the owner overrides them immediately, that's not good. Yeah, that's going to cause some turmoil. Right.
Sorry.
But I think everybody got what they wanted, so I don't know.
Yeah. As soon as you said hanger on causing damage, I pictured Vince Russo. I don't know why. Anyway,
I love how much WCW stuff is coming into this. Yeah. The Texans are the WCW of the NFL. Is that what we're saying?
Yes. I think I'm okay with that.
Okay. Can't wait to see CJ Stroud in a graveyard match with the Kiss Demon.
Oh, God. That poor man. He failed that test. Do you put any stock into that? Do you put any stock into the processing test or whatever that was?
Well, not only did he fail it, he was like obscenely low.
He got 18%.
Yeah, right.
Apparently, Bryce Young got a 98, and he got an 18, which I can't believe is right.
Right.
And even the test people came out and said like, some of these are flawed. They didn't specifically say
every year though, like
CJ Stroud's are flawed, but they were like, some of these are flawed.
We're not doing the Wonderlic test anymore.
No, we're not.
No.
Okay, that doesn't exist anymore. So this is
the
new
replace
Wonderlic.
That.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And the test was, for context, if you do great on the test, doesn't mean you're great. But if you do bad on the test, means you're probably going to be bad. And CJ Stroud did not do well at all.
If that's the case, why does anybody bother to take the test?
Right. I'm not
taking it.
I would opt out of the test.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to throw at the combine, so why not say no to the test? I don't know. I feel like the Texans are a loser.
Yeah.
I don't know. Especially because they gave up their own pick.
Right.
Instead of the other pick.
The Cardinals very well could have number 1 and number 2 next year.
Winner, Cardinals.
Yeah.
Loser, Kyler Murray. Potentially, or maybe
say that about any point in his life.
Maybe that might not have anything to do with the draft.
Yeah. Las Vegas A's. He's going to go play for them. All right, give me another loser.
I have the Bengals as a loser only because they had one job coming into the draft and ignored it.
Yeah.
What was the job?
To get an offensive lineman. Period.
What frustrated me about the Bengals is they spent $90 million in the offseason to improve their O-line last year, and every single guy failed. Like, I don't know how you do that. That's like all three of them all well underperformed what they should have, performed at.
And now they have another guy. They have the Chiefs guy.
Right. Now they have another. Yeah, they have Orlando. Boy, I do like Orlando Brown on paper.
I do too.
On paper.
too.
Yeah.
We'll
Me
see.
too.
Yep.
Me too.
Patriots. And this is not just my normal Patriots hatred that is seeping in.
Okay. They picked a kicker and a punter.
And a punter. I'm just going to say, all right, so the first round pick, they took a cornerback.
Not bad.
Yeah, he's fine. He's a really good
Totally
player.
fine.
They also fucked over the Jets.
They did. Of course they did. Because Belichick will never miss a chance.
Which was great. I hate Belichick, but, I get it.
There's enough pettiness there. But anyway, like the defensive end they took in the second round had a lot of questions around him. He was a little slow on the outside. Like, okay, whatever. Not the greatest one. And then once again, Belichick just takes these slew of guards that are just like the same guy every single year.
A slew of guards.
I don't see it. He took a linebacker from Sacramento State who might be good, but he's more like a tweener. And you already have Kyle Duggar on your team, who's basically, it's like the same guy. So he's just drafting players he already has. He had 12 picks. One of them made sense.
Did you ever play, as you're talking about the Patriots just taking more guards from schools no one's ever heard of? Did you ever play in a fantasy football league with that one guy who's like, if I take 6 quarterbacks, people are going to have to come to me with trade requests?
Yes.
And it's like, yes, but in the meantime, your roster's awful. And like, you could have taken the guys that you could have gotten in trade. Like doesn't this feel a little bit like that? Like the Patriots are like, if we take all the guards, people will have to trade us assets for a guard.
Sure, we both played with Pat. We understand what you're talking about.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
We're name dropping now.
Yes,
We're name dropping.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
Oh my God. We've all played with Pat. All right. I'm going to give a loser here.
Okay.
Please.
Big fucking loser to me. Lions.
Oh, that was weird.
Huge loser. Here's why. You have the number 6 pick. You could have taken the best running back in the draft, who maybe is the best player in the draft. You draft back, you trade back, and trade out of that spot. You could have just taken the guy there. You trade back, and then you take another running back. What are you doing? I didn't get that at all. Like, okay. Also, you paid David Montgomery a ton of fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
You had DeAndre Swift, which you obviously got rid of, which I never understood why they didn't like him, but they obviously never liked him. And then they have like a ton of other guys, random running backs that they could use. They could have gotten the best running back, and they didn't do it. Instead, they got the next best running back, who shouldn't have been drafted in the first round. That was weird to me.
Yeah,
you were there. You were right there. You could have just taken the guy straight up, and you had a second pick.
Right.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. And then they take that inside linebacker who's like, 3 rounds too early.
Yeah, that dude is.
What are you doing?
Speaking of that draft that Drew and I went to, I'm going to say the name Paul Posluszny to you.
Yeah.
And that's what this guy is.
Yeah.
It's not that he had a bad career or a short career.
He's not a bad player.
He just wasn't impactful.
Weird.
He was the guy who was just line up tackles but never like change a game for you. And that's what this guy reminds me of.
This is also a team that has, who are their receivers again? Name their receivers for me. Who are these weapons around Jared Goff?
Herman Moore,
Herman
Brett Parabin.
I heard Jermaine Crowell is a speedy receiver.
He is. And
Johnny Morton.
I was going to say, I heard some things about Johnny Morton.
Yeah.
Johnny Morton. Okay. They could have taken at that 18th pick several receivers
I feel
who
like
could have helped this offense
the
go to the next level.
The Lions are frustrating because they can't get out of their own way. I just want to grab them by the side of the head and be like, look at your division right now. Just forward. Stop doing this. Just, you don't have to do anything other than just not fall flat on your face. Just, this division is yours right now. Stop doing what you're doing.
How excited would you be if you were a Lions fan and you took at 6 Bijan Robinson,
right,
and then either Jackson Smith Njigba or Quentin Johnson or Zay Flowers. Any of those guys.
Actually,
at the second pick.
Zay Flowers in a dome? I mean, that's
any of
scary.
Those guys.
That'd be great.
Pick.
Yeah.
I mean, there were other very possible picks. Jordan Addison. Any of those guys.
Right.
What a mistake. I know the rest of their draft actually panned out to be okay, but wow. You had a chance to make this team really fucking good. You had a chance and you didn't do it. You blew it.
I'm not going to come to the go. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, how many almost playoff teams have 2 first-round picks? How many times has that happened? Never.
And a coach that all of his press conferences he doesn't talk about football. I love Dan Campbell.
I do
love
too.
him.
He's the best.
But I'm not going to come to their defense because I agree with everything you've said. I will say I thought Hooker to them in the 3rd round was a good pick.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Because they get to see what they get while Goff still got some gas in the tank. And if he
Right.
sucked so well, it was a 3rd round pick. But like Hooker's one of those dudes whose range is very wide.
Yeah.
He could be great if he pans out correctly.
Is he going to be ready this season? Or is that because he tore his? I don't remember when he tore his ACL, but
he I think it's one of those like come October he'll be cleared.
Okay. All right.
You know, but you don't need him this year.
No,
anyway,
that's actually probably good for him.
Right.
Is to just like, hey man, we're not expecting you to do anything.
Yeah.
Just hang out, learn from.
I'm
Jared
fine
Goff.
with that. I'm fine with that pick.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
It
some
was weird.
Some of this first round stuff was weird.
I forget who took he went in the 4th round and it blew me away because I was almost surprised he got drafted at all. Who took Stetson Bennett?
Rams.
That's right. So the Rams take Stetson Bennett, which again, I'm marginally surprised that he got drafted at all, let alone in the 4th round. But he gets picked. He gets picked 3 rounds ahead of Max Duggan.
Yeah.
Who I mean, I guess that's what happens when you get publicly flogged in the national championship game. But like, I don't think there's anybody who actually thinks Stetson Bennett is a better quarterback than Max Duggan.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seeing that unfold was bizarre to me.
By the way, I have a theory that Andy Dalton is Max Duggan's dad. So, like, look at them side by side. The age, I'm not saying it's optimal, but it does mathematically work that he could have sired a son at 15.
Okay. Dalton.
They went to the same
Dalton
school.
has that game? Dalton has the game.
Listen,
Carolina Panthers.
they don't call him Red Rifle for nothing, baby.
The Red Rifle. Oh my God.
Which
one of my friends was watching that TCU game and said, "Does Owen Hart's son quarterback TCU?" And I said, "What? What are you even talking about? Like, look at his face. He looks like Owen Hart."
Which only because you brought it up, because we brought up the center that the Giants took from Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
If you lined up at Minnesota, PJ Fleck, their coach, Tanner Morgan, their like 8th-year senior quarterback, and their center, John Michael Spitz.
Yep.
If you looked at the 3 of them, you'd think they were brothers. like Morgan and Fleck in particular look like they could be brothers. And then you put the center next to him. It's uncanny. It's very genetically strange.
Oh my God. All right. Any other losers? I got maybe one more.
Oh, there's one big one left.
Okay, go ahead.
What do you got?
Indianapolis.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for this. Yes, right.
Because Indianapolis, of course, convinces themselves that a man who can't throw will be their quarterback. And he doesn't even have one of those. You remember when remember Pat White, West Virginia,
yes.
and Geno Smith, West Virginia. They ran the same offense, and there was they had this gaudy completion percentage, and then everybody realized in both cases, something like 30% of their passes were screen passes.
Mm-hmm.
Richardson doesn't even have that to sort of hide behind.
No.
And so now you've taken a physical freak. I'm not going to take that away from him. The man is genetically pure. And you've put him into a situation where he has no one to learn under, and he's going to be asked to do everything right away on a team that's not very good.
Right.
And you're not even certain, I know you can't teach athleticism and you can't teach arm strength and all those different things, but there's a reason Michael Bishop wasn't a first-round quarterback.
Yeah, right.
And so not only do you take a dude who's a huge flyer and put him in a place where he has no time to learn, then right after that, they take Josh Downs from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Downs' tape is awesome. Josh Downs at the end of last season, when North Carolina needed him for a chance to get into the ACC championship game, completely disappeared.
Yep.
like totally disappeared against, and he had a good game against Clemson at the end. I'm not knocking that, but like, he had like 11 for 100 or something, but like against NC State and against Georgia Tech, totally vanished in 2 games where his team needed him.
Yeah. Not known as defensive powerhouses either, who can negate a receiver like that. So
no, Georgia Tech is actively bad. NC State at least, like, they should hire Paul Johnson back and start running the triple option again, because at least then every year they go like 7-5 and grind out a few wins. They've been awful ever since they fired him. And North Carolina State didn't play up to their expectations. That's a legitimate team, but even so, if you want to be if North Carolina wants to live up to their expectations and Downs wants to live up to his expectations, he's got to show up in one of those games, and he didn't show up in either one.
Right. And you're not the first person. That was actually a very common thing I read about him, was the inability to show up in those games to make a big difference. He's a kind of a stat patter is what I heard a lot about him.
Yes, and he's supremely talented. But he's not like Tank Dell, where like Tank's temperamental, but he shows up for every game. Downs had some games where he just disappeared.
Right. And those are the type of receivers, if you do that in college, typically don't make it. Like, they're the guys who kind of hang out for a year or two. Like, the N'Keal Harry, I always remember. Obviously, I think he's back. I think somebody invited him to like a training camp or something like that. But dude who just, once again, was put up great stats, but when it came to like making an impact, never did it in college. So, not a huge, Indianapolis really had some issues. And it really is that Anthony Richardson kid. Like, I saw that at Florida, he had the 4th best offensive line in the country, and he still was running for no reason. Like, I mean, you got to stay back there. You got to give yourself some time. When you're just panicking, you're just making it harder on everybody on the team. And that's just, I don't see it in Richardson. I just don't see it.
They talked about the pick too, which was weird, and they said if we had the number 1 pick, we would have picked Richardson.
Like, well, they're going to say that now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, it's definitely not true.
Irsay is not helping.
I don't know if I read this stat the last time we were on and talked about this, but Anthony Richardson completion percentage coming out of college, 54.7%. Lowest completion percentage among first-round quarterbacks in the last 25 drafts. Here's your list. Richardson, 54.7. Jake Locker, 54.
God.
Jim Druckenmiller, 53.8. Ryan Leaf, 53.8. And rounding it out at the bottom, Kyle Baller, 47.8. Like, this is not good company to be in for the number 3 over, the number 4 overall pick.
You don't want to be. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty damning, Drew. I mean, that's like, you don't even have one aberration in that. Like, who did make it? Like, all those guys failed miserably.
Yeah, not only failed, but failed immediately.
Right.
I totally did not realize Jim Druckenmiller was a fucking first-round pick either.
Oh, yeah.
I did not remember that.
He was complicated.
Complicated. All right. Any other losers? Got a loser for me? Any more losers?
I want to say one pick being a loser is the Vikings they took a receiver instead of the one thing that they're good at, which is passing the ball. They instead decided to ignore corner, where they were like the 4th worst defense in the league. They got gutted every time. And they're like,
I'm actually okay with them taking a wide receiver, because 1, the guy they got is really good, and two, because they just lost Thielen and they got to replace that production. Like, if they want to maintain the pace their offense goes at, they need another guy.
Right.
Like, I don't think you could plug, like, Jefferson is a generational talent, but I don't think you could have put just anybody. You couldn't have put Robert Woods next to him and expected to get the same production.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I just, that defense just, you saw
it was bad.
It was bad. Push the fuck over.
Yeah, I don't disagree that their defense needs some help, and maybe they should have gone that way. But I understand why they did what they did.
Sure. And they got also, Addison, right? Is that who they took?
Yeah. Yes. They missed out on some of those top corners. They were picked earlier, so I mean, I guess they could have went somewhere.
They took one in the second.
They could have went with Joey Porter Jr. I mean, that was their option.
Right. The corner they took is substantially lower than anything they could have. He was a big step down from the early picks. So,
Yeah, and they didn't address the quarterback issue that they don't want Kirk Cousins next year, but they don't have anybody else to replace him.
I love that he keeps trying. That's one of my favorite things. He's like, how about I work for half? And they're like, no.
Did Harrison
moving
Smith
on, buddy.
do the same thing? Didn't Harrison Smith be
Yes.
like, I'll
Yeah.
stay if you pay me like a quarter of what you were? And they're like, sure, I guess. So, why not?
Honestly, good for the Vikings though. Like you know what you're gonna get out of Kirk Cousins at this point. Like you
Yeah.
know he's not gonna
Yes.
take you deep into the playoffs. So like if you got a guy like that and you know it's not gonna work, you got to move on. You got even if you're gonna get you to the playoffs nominally every year, you know.
Yeah.
If he's not gonna get you past the wild card, it's time to move on.
What about the Falcons? Are they a loser?
No.
Oh,
No.
Okay.
Because and I understand running back is devalued and all that other BS.
Yeah.
Like if
But
that's
the team
your
stinks. The team stinks.
the team stinks, I agree. But it's like if that's your guy and that's the guy that you think can make an impact, and like everybody,
I mean, he will,
and everybody generally agrees that this guy is on a talent basis maybe the best player in the draft. Go ahead, go ahead.
Totally fine with it. They're building something on that offense. I mean, with him and Pitts, and you know, I don't think Desmond Ridder. I don't think he's it. But you know, I think that if you build this year and maybe you get to 7 wins, 6 wins, or something like that. I mean, it's a little bit of progress. Or you bomb out and take, you know, William or Caleb.
Yeah, the unfortunate truth of the Falcons is that somewhere there's a parallel reality where they held on to Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
And if they had Ridley, Pitts, and now Robinson, that's a very interesting offense.
Right.
In the absence of that, they still got some building to do. But like I said, if Robinson's their guy, go get your guy.
Yeah,
he's a good player, and I'm afraid to face him twice a year. I will say that. I don't like that at all.
I mean, people rag on the Giants for the Saquon Barkley pick because he was, you know, early in that draft. But I mean, you can't argue that he's not talented and hasn't, especially this year when he actually had a competent offensive coordinator and head coach.
True.
How well he did.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm fine.
And and listen, if the Falcons' idea is we need to protect Ridder, then go get the best running back available.
Yeah, right.
True.
Take pressure off him.
Algier was really good last year, though. That's the thing. Like I thought Algier was good, and I thought Cordell Patterson is a good is also good. Like,
is he a running back? He's like, okay. To me, he's just like weapon. He's
every once in a while when they throw him in there, he's good. But I thought Algier finished the year strong. Like he was good against the Panthers.
He did. This is to me, this is all about protecting Ridder. Like, and if that means you need 2.5 running backs or whatever, or like. You remember
we're playing the Georgia Tech offense,
and this like this reminds bring them out there. It's what this is what the Niners should have done anyway. After like all 9 of their quarterbacks got hurt. This reminds me of going back to Minnesota for a second. This reminds me of Minnesota was coming into an offseason where like they were a borderline playoff team and like they had a strong running game with Chester Taylor, but they went and drafted Adrian Peterson anyway.
Right.
If you're the Falcons, like, Algier's great, but is he Bijan Robinson? No, he's not.
Right.
Right.
There's still a place for him. 3rd down back, you know, change of pace back. There's still a spot.
Absolutely.
All right.
He really is talented. So I'm excited to watch him.
Yeah, he'll be good. It's just a weird pick when the rest of the team stinks and you already have 2 good running backs. It's weird to me, right? Like you can't block and you're bad at defense. Even though you signed all kinds of corners, you're still not good at defense. Anyway,
why did I just have like a moment of clairvoyance where I picture them putting Patterson under center with the 2 backs behind him, and now you're in triple option territory. Guess what? Nobody's practiced against it in a long time.
Right.
You could at least get one victory out of that.
The Ronnie Brown, Ricky Williams offense. Is bad.
Unless you are specifically playing against Georgia Tech's defense, who practices against this every day, you might make some hay here.
I like it. All right. Any other losers? Are we good? Did we cover them all? There were a lot of losers.
We're very hateful on this podcast.
We're very hateful. All right. We're gonna find some more losers because we're going to the sad boy boat.
Okay.
4 people go on the sad boy boat. 4 draft sad boys.
Oh, draft. Okay.
Number 1, Will Levis, sad boy. He was real sad. He was so sad he left the draft.
Yeah.
And went home and got picked from his hotel room or wherever he was. Sad boy Will Less. You got
They
another one?
focus in on Will a little too. I mean, it was kind of funny, but
he was on
we've
there
seen that
a
happen
lot.
with Aaron Rodgers, and
it's
you
a
know,
thing.
it's a thing. Yeah,
it's a thing. I mean, he had like 9 girlfriends with him or sisters. I'm not sure who. That was the most interesting thing of the first round. Besides,
I thought he
Bryce
broke
Young.
up with his girlfriend at one point because she looked very uninterested in him.
She was upset.
Yes,
she looked like she was going to prom.
Right.
And I thought there was another girlfriend, but it wasn't. And then he was doing stuff with somebody who might have been his mom. I don't know. Will Levis loser. Anybody or a sad boy boat? Anybody other on the sad boy boat?
Does it have to be somebody at the draft? Because I was
it can be any. It can be a team, an owner, GM.
I'm gonna say
anybody.
Zach Wilson.
Oh God!
I mean, when he had that one comment where he's gonna make like Aaron Rodgers' life hell, and that just made me depressed.
Whatever veteran comes in,
yeah.
Even Rodgers he tweeted about that, didn't
he? Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Can we put Ryan Tannehill there, because it has now been made clear to him his future is not in Tennessee.
Yeah. I felt really bad for him because I watched his press conference after, and he's like, every year. That's what he said. He's like, every year we do this. We'll see. I haven't met the guy yet.
and I'm thinking about it. It may be premature after we've just spent 2 consecutive podcasts ragging on him. If Anthony Richardson has any concept of how screwed he is, does he get to like? If he doesn't, then he doesn't get to go on the sad boy boat. But if he has any inkling that like, oh no, I'm doomed, he's got to go on the boat.
Yeah, like a preemptive spot. That's good.
Exactly. I don't think he realizes it yet.
Yeah.
They picked him on Thursday. Did he wake up on Friday and was like, shit?
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
I wouldn't have done that.
Oh no. All right, we have one more spot.
Oh, I kind of like Richardson getting it.
You want to give it to Richardson?
I do. I like the idea.
I don't think he's sad
he could wake up in a cold sweat and be like, "Oh fuck."
So he only goes if he's aware of how hosed he is. If he's not, then
he might not be.
What about that Cardinals thing where they just like tampered with that crappy coach?
That was weird. Yeah.
Do the Cardinals belong on the sad boy boat for losing a pick because they tampered with a
lost
shit
pick
coach?
like the day of the draft? I've never heard of that before.
It was weird. It was like a plea deal or something. Like the Cardinals have agreed to be punished and flogged.
I guess they also like the what's it, Vic Fangio, or he was also like supposed to stay with the Eagles, but because of all this, he left. It was just weird all the way around. It was just a strange.
Yeah. What about the Dolphins? Sad boy mode. They didn't get to take a pick. They got eliminated from the first round.
Right. That's pretty funny.
All right.
For a guy they didn't draft, the guy they never signed anyway.
Right. They didn't even get Brady, and they lost
the Dolphins on there. That's funny. That's.
We could put Richardson or the Dolphins. One or the other. We don't know for a fact how sad Richardson is yet. All right. Do we want to do a college football segment? Do you have one?
Sure. It's been a few weeks. There's a few interesting stories bubbling up. The first one, of course, out of Texas, where all eyes go all the time, where Sark already came out and said that Quinn Ewers is going to be his starting quarterback, which I think there's a whole bunch of people that are like, they hear the name Manning and they just assume that's the end all be all. And everybody's like, how on earth could this kid be a better starting quarterback right now than Arch Manning? And like, it's easy to forget Quinn Ewers was the #1 high school recruit in his class. He was viewed by many as the best quarterback in his class. He comes with game experience because he committed to Texas, decommitted, went to Ohio State, then transferred to Texas.
Wow.
Like he was part of the Elite 11 that year. Like he's already being projected as a top 10 pick in next year's draft. Like this dude has the potential to be the real deal, especially when Sark knows like he's got to make as much hay as he can in Texas this year to get recruits before they go to the SEC next year. Mm-hmm. And if you have any doubt that Arch Manning's not ready yet, then Ewers is your guy because he's going to the draft anyway. So you might as well get your mileage out of him and at least start there and see what happens. Quinn Ewers also the first player, believed to be the first player to sign a NIL deal in excess of $1 million.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So this, when people hear the name Quinn Ewers and they're like, who the hell is this? This kid is a big deal.
Yeah.
His name isn't Manning, but he's a big deal. So he's going to be the starting quarterback at Texas, at least to start the year. The CFP released their schedule for 24 and 25 college football playoff, which is when the first year it expands. So not this coming season, but the following season. And I think everybody, the big news here for me isn't necessarily the way the schedule lays out, because that's whatever, but it's that the final confirmation that the first round games, if you will take place at college stadiums. We've never seen this in college football before. Like, everybody talks about Death Valley, LSU at night, but they've never hosted a playoff game. There's never been a college football playoff game where one team is the home team.
So that's what they're doing then. So
yes.
because I hadn't heard that before. So okay, all right.
So like geographically, teams have sort of been the home team before, but it's never been in their home stadium.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that.
Yeah, so I think I'm the only person in America who doesn't want the college football playoff to expand. If it's going to expand, I like that this is the way it's going to expand. And who knows? Nothing here is carved in stone. In a few years, they could change it and incorporate more bowl games if they come to more agreements and blah, 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 blah. But in the meantime, the fact that there's going to be home games at college sites for the first round of the playoffs, that's phenomenal. Pro Football Focus announced who they have rated as the top 10 college quarterbacks coming into this season.
Okay.
Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams, not number 1.
Okay.
He's number 2. Jordan Travis for FSU, number 1. Curious to see how that plan pays out. Ewers, not on the list, but probably because of an overall lack of game experience. Most interesting, number 10 on their list, Syracuse's own Garrett Schrader.
Oh my God, I love that guy.
I do too, but what?
Yeah, I think the general consensus is what? Because obviously Syracuse started all great last year and then had a disastrous end of the season.
I watch almost every Syracuse game, and yes, that's weird.
So they have him at number 10, best quarterback in the country coming into this season. The only other story is an extension of a bad story, which we talked about last time, which was the friction between Alabama's coaching staff, basketball and football. If you haven't seen, Alabama today fired their baseball coach for gambling. And this is the storm cloud. This is the worst case scenario. The more details that come out about this, the worse it potentially is. He bet not only on college baseball, not only on his team, but he bet on his team to lose.
Oh no!
And this is where this gets stupid. He bet on his team to lose after scratching his healthy ace starting pitcher for a guy who hadn't pitched in like 2 months.
Oh, shit.
And some of the details there are a little fuzzy. I might not be remembering all the particulars correctly, but he definitely scratched a good pitcher for a pitcher who had not pitched in a long time and is not as good. And then put down 2 bets through an intermediary for LSU to beat his own team, Alabama. So he was fired today. This could get real ugly real fast.
Yeah.
And again, this comes back to like Nick Saban's got to be just slamming his head on a concrete wall somewhere that this keeps happening to his university. Now, the gambling thing, obviously not as serious as the shooting thing, but it does speak to like the integrity of the university coaching, various coaching staffs. So this, not directly a college football story, but this could get real bad real fast, depending on if there's additional fallout.
Oof.
That's real. I mean, my God, I can't even imagine that. Say what you will. I mean, there's always that story about Pete Rose, and he to this day contests, and I believe him, that he never bet against his own team.
Yeah, he always bet on his team.
He always bet on him, right? He always bet on himself, and I believe that. I totally believe that he did that. This is the first I've ever heard of it being public that somebody bet against their team, right?
Yes.
And in any sport.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty screwed up. Real
bad. Especially how easy it is now to place a bet. He's been in the locker room,
That's what happened with the Lions. All those guys got busted because they placed bets on premises, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rough.
Oh boy. All right. Do we have a football Fubar this week?
We do. Yes.
Is it Antonio Brown, local hero?
The Albany Empire owning Antonio Brown. I could do one on him.
Yeah, right. He will be in there eventually.
Yes. Yeah. So now that we've dissected the draft, okay, we've gone over all these things. I think it's important to remember all the draft busts that we've covered in football, Fubar already. We have Ryan Leaf already in.
Yep.
We have Jamarcus Russell already in.
Oh.
We have the whole Vikings organization for missing that pick that one time. They're already in.
Right.
So it's fun to talk about draft busts, but let's talk about supplemental draft busts. And probably the biggest bust of all time, get your hair nice in a high fade here, because we're going to be talking about the Boz on this one. So
the Boz.
That's right. That's right.
I love it.
Brian Bosworth, okay, who, by the way, I think gave himself that nickname. I'm pretty sure, much like
Probably.
Rock Reigns.
Don't.
He joined the Oklahoma Sooners in 1984. That was his freshman year, which also made me think that Switzer had to deal with Marcus Dupree in 83 and then the Boz immediately afterwards. So talk about like headaches. No wonder he was such an asshole throughout his entire career. So Boz at Oklahoma, absolutely amazing. I mean, 2-time All-American. When I was doing research for this, he was the initial Bednarik winner for best linebacker. They gave it to him. He was the first ever winner, and then he won it again. I can't remember the last time anybody won that twice. That's amazing.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously well known for his, 80s standard flamboyant behavior, which was just like high top fade and just talking on the field. That was enough to get the smelling salts all out back in the day. Talked a lot of shit. Obviously, though, was very talented on the field. Put up a lot of numbers. Liked to drink, liked to party, like steroids. That's how he got in trouble. So he got busted right before the 1987 Orange Bowl because dude enjoyed his steroids. Very famously, during that bowl game, lifted up his shirt when the camera was on him, and it said NCAA across it, which stood for, I'm trying to remember what actually it was. I wrote it down, but I can't remember now. Basically, insulting the program, saying that it was like communists against athletes, or national communists against athletes is what it was. Oklahoma got enough of that, sick of that shit. They said, you know what? You're off the team. Okay. So because they ejected him, they dismissed him before, or it was after you had to declare for the draft, he was put in the supplemental draft, which is still around, by the way. Every year there's a supplemental draft. Usually it's for like academically ineligible players who weren't eligible at the time of the draft, and now you can take them later. And the idea is if you take somebody in the first round, you lose that pick the next year in next year's draft. Okay.
That's how the Raiders grabbed Terrell Pryor.
Yes, right. And I always remember like Dave Brown from the Giants was a
supplemental
draft. Yeah, he was.
Jeez, I'd forgotten that.
Yep. So Boz comes out, but he only wants to play for one team. The one team that represents him the best, and that's the LA Raiders. He only wants to play for the Raiders, which at the time, that definitely made sense. He wrote a letter to the rest of the team saying, do not draft me. The only team I want to play for is the Raiders. If you draft me, I will not show up at camp. The Seahawks take him in the first round of the supplemental draft, completely ignoring this. He says initially, I don't want to play for you. That's bullshit. I told you I don't want to play for the Raiders. And they offered him a 10-year, this is a rookie contract, a 10-year, $11 million, which at the time was the largest rookie contract in sports history. Not just the NFL, in baseball, in basketball, the largest contract. So, of course, he signed it because he likes money. And at his introductory press conference, talked about how John Elway was a midget, and how he talked about how he can't wait to show up Bo Jackson. These are important people to remember.
This is important.
Yeah. So his first game is against John Elway, who throws for 400 yards against the Raiders, or against the Seahawks.
And what year was that?
This was 1988. 1987. Yeah.
1987. He threw yards. For 400 yards. That's insane.
Decimates them. Now, he actually played, though, in between this game and another game we'll be talking about in a second. He actually played okay. And then he ran into the Raiders.
Oh, did he ever?
And boy, if you've never seen this, YouTube Bo Jackson and the Boz. So to paint the scene, it's in Seattle. They are at the 3-4 yard line, somewhere around there. And the Raiders give it to Bo Jackson. And Bo Jackson decides that he's going to, and it's Boz and Bo Jackson. They're the only two people, Boz is in front of him, Bo's over here, and Bo just runs through this motherfucker. Like, he takes him on a ride. He apparently stood up and told Boz, next time, make sure you have bus fare. That's what he told him in the end zone, which is a fantastic insult. And most people will also remember not only him taking, Boz into the end zone, they'll remember Boz dejectedly walking off the field looking like just a schmuck. And that's, I think, important to note, because Boz, to his credit, was a player who built up a brand. And you see that a lot nowadays. People have like an image, they have like a thing they live up to. And he was one of the first who did that. But when you get knocked into the shadow realm by Bo Jackson, you're not coming back from that. And that really did damage his career. One play really killed that man's career. Next year, came back, got hurt, never played again. Lasted 2.5 seasons in the NFL.
Ouch.
The Boz did. Had 4 sacks total in his entire NFL career. So now the Boz did retire and kind of became an actor. It was kind of weird. Like he wasn't, he still kind of shows up every now and then and kind of B-movie stuff. So he did find a niche, and he did talk about all of his exploits with steroids. He talked about like the whole brand building and how that can easily be, shot down if you open up your mouth. So there's a little bit of a silver lining here where he does at least have some sort of cognizant awareness of how he was. But that still will never take away Bo Jackson destroying one man's career. So Bosworth, welcome to football, Fubar, my friend.
Was that not also the same game that
Yes.
Jackson ran like a 99-yard touchdown
He
through
had-
the tunnel?
Through
He
the
was
tunnel.
going so fast.
Yes.
Yep.
I looked up his stats.
It's
It was
the same
231 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game.
Was on Monday Night Football.
Yep.
Steve Largent said later about that game, he said, I was standing on the sideline for Bo's 99-yard run. And he goes, while I remember the visual of him running past me on the sideline, he said, what I will never forget was the sound of him running past me.
Yeah.
He said, I'd never heard anybody that sounded like that running.
So another little thing, when I YouTube, because I want to rewatch, him taking Bosworth for a ride, there was also another clip of Bo Jackson's best baseball throws.
Mhm.
Holy shit!
Oh my God.
The one they just in Kansas City, they refer to it as the throw. The one where he throws
I
at
saw
Harold
that.
Reynolds. The one where he throws at Harold Reynolds at the plate.
That is ungodly arm strength and accuracy. He tossed him out from right field. I mean, it was amazing.
I forget who the catcher was for Kansas City, but he said later, like, he was walking away from home plate because that would have been a walk-off hit for Seattle, and he just assumed the game was over, and he happened to look into left field and was like, holy shit, the ball's coming.
Right.
I need to get back and tag Harold.
Bo didn't even throw it to a cutoff man.
No.
He just threw it right to home plate.
On a rope.
Right. Perfect accuracy. It was amazing. And he had another couple other throws in there that were like not at home plate, but like, all the way from right to third base. And it looked like it was just on a line. It was just amazing.
Doesn't he also have the one highlight where he runs up the wall?
Up the wall.
In
Kansas
Oh,
City.
and grabs it?
An amazing player.
And he smashes the bat. That's also a highlight. I remember he had the bat over his helmet and just crank.
Yep.
Just smashed it. That guy was incredible.
He really was.
Bo Jackson is the reason I'm a Raiders fan, right?
Yeah.
And I remember his, I think it was his high school coach told a story where, like, end of the season, they were having a party and Bo was in his pool. And he said, I happened to look over at Bo, who was standing in thigh-deep water in the pool, and in thigh-deep water did a backflip.
Oh, my God.
Like, that's not normal.
Right.
Who else has played in the NFL? What did he play? 3 years? Is that it? 4 years?
Three or four, yeah.
Who else has made such an impact on only 3 years of playing?
Like,
nobody.
Absolutely insane. And he was such an iconic. I mean, there was like, when we were growing up, like, the video games and obviously Tecmo Bowl and, all these things that just kind of immortalized him because he was so amazing at what he did.
I remember I had this trading card. One of my favorites. I forget what.
He's got the bat and the shoulder pads.
He's got shoulder pads and the bat. Like, that is the coolest card I have. I need to protect this. Obviously, it's not worth anything, but I remember that card. Like, I need to keep this card.
We'll never see a player like that ever again, ever. Because once again, they'll probably choose one sport or the other just alone. That
it's
eliminates
too hard.
A lot of mystique.
But it's. I always think of it this way: like, Bo's still the only player to be an all-pro I shouldn't say all-pro, an all-star in 2 major sports.
Right.
Deion Sanders played professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody give a shit about that.
Right. I mean, he was a decent player. He was more like a bench player.
Yeah.
But wow.
It was
All
actually it was a really nice treat to be able to watch some Bo Jackson highlights this morning.
Also, Brian Bosworth, by the way, you mentioned an actor. He went on to star in the awful feature film Stone Cold, which didn't come into my memory until later when I first learned of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I was like, he's not related to the Brian Bosworth movie, is he?
The Bosworth vehicle.
One of those things would eventually grow to overshadow the other, but at first I was like, no, wait a minute, I've heard this term before.
What?
So also real quick, one of the guys I thought about, I want to do something draft related for Football Fubar, right? And one of the rules I have for Football Fubar, and I've had it from the beginning, is I can't induct anybody who has like mental issues that impacted what happened, right? I looked into Todd Marinovich. God damn.
No,
like I felt like depressed for him by the end of this because like his dad did such a number on that guy. You know, the whole skateboarding thing, like evading cops on a skateboard, that's funny, but like not enough because like his dad just did horrible things to that poor guy.
Yeah, he's unfortunately not right.
Yeah. I heard is he okay now though? He was maybe
It seemed like he was for a while, and I think he got caught for possession again or something.
Oh boy.
He had like an art gallery or something, and I was like, oh, good for him. Like he got over it. But
yeah, I've lost track of what order the events go in, but I think after it seemed like he was okay, he got in trouble again for something. Man.
So like I said, he'll never go in. I'll never put in Manziel, even though once again, funny, but Manziel has issues.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Antonio Brown, maybe. I don't know.
I think he has issues.
He might have issues too.
He might have some issues. He might.
If they're not documented, I can still sneak it in.
I mean,
we can interview him. He's going to move next to Killer Greg, right? He's
going to be near Killer Greg.
It's Killer Greg's mansion, so we might be able to meet up with him.
Yeah.
Well, plus there's a transcendent point at which you've done things that supersede whether you have like a mental instability issue or not.
Sure.
Like the frozen feet thing has nothing to do with being chemically unbalanced.
Right. Oh my God. Did you see on Twitter he posted that he basically had an open tryout for anybody who wanted to just be a member of the Albany Empire? He said get a hold of me and I'll hook you up.
Call me.
You could throw for at least 9 touchdowns.
How hard can it be?
Right. You know that arena.
I do.
All right, we kind of did game balls already by like winners, but I don't know if you have a game ball or not. You want to give it out? I think the winners are fine. Plugs. We got a new TJF podcast coming up real soon. I got to edit it and then it'll be out. It's about. What is it about? What was it about? It was 2 days ago. I already forgot.
Music, bands.
It was about bands. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Should remember that. There's a guitar on the screen and I work in music.
If you want to hear an episode where Killer Greg finally snaps about a Full House episode, it's this one.
Yeah.
So
I killed him with the Jesse Gets Big in Japan episode. Which could kill anybody. Be careful, don't watch it.
He references kicking Michelle down a flight of stairs because I'm getting so frustrated.
Oh God. It's a good one. Go check it out. It'll be out soon. And we'll be back. When are we coming back?
At some point we'll have to figure out. Yeah, I mean,
Can I plug real quick?
Yes.
My semi-functional music blog, which is not run by me anymore. Tomorrow, speaking of bands, I'm a couple of weeks behind because I was out of the country on vacation and I had to process it. My full review of the new Metallica goes up tomorrow.
Oh, awesome.
Where can people find this?
If you go to Google, the URL is complicated because it's through like a different host domain and the whole BS. But if you just go to Google and search Bloody Good Music, we'll come up. We should be the first thing up. So I just finished my
new album.
I just finished my review of the new Powerwolf album, and now I finished Metallica, and I got to do Blood Ceremony probably tomorrow. But Metallica goes up tomorrow.
So, Drew, during the TGIF podcast, we were talking about our favorite concert experiences, and Drew has written a book about his concerts that he has been to, which is a phenomenal read. And you'll be happy to know that my favorite concert experience was Queens of the Stone Age with opening act Turbo Negro.
And that
not because of anything Queens of the Stone Age.
Nope, because Drew was also there for that.
Is that in the book?
It is in the book.
It is. It is
in the book. Okay. All right. I love it. I want to know about this Metallica album.
Yes.
It used to be one of my favorite bands. They were my favorite band for a very long time. So, and then things happened.
Yeah. And without spoiling it, the new album is sort of a mix of all those things, good and bad.
Okay.
And there's also the opening cut of the record, which is the title track of the record, 72 Seasons. It starts out sounding a lot like Dick Dale's Miserlou, which is a strange callback. I think people would recognize that now as the sample from Black Eyed Peas' Pump It.
Okay.
That song.
Huh.
So it like I said, it's good and bad, like everything. It's seemingly like everything Metallica's done in the past 25 years. It is both good and bad. I'll shoot you the link tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
It's good and bad. What was the point where you lost faith in Metallica? I know this we're super over, but like, what was the mark where you're
Load.
like, load, not
Load.
reload?
No, I don't like Load. Like the Black Album is the Black. Like I don't like Justice. Most Metallica purists do. I just happen to not like Justice all that much. But I do like the Black Album, which I know makes me a deviant in some eyes of Metallica people.
That's a good album.
And then Load is like to me in many ways that's not even a metal record. And genre convention and labels are stupid anyway, but like if you're dividing into broad categories of like rock and metal, like that's kind of a rock record and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's not what Metallica does best. So like Load, Reload, Saint Anger are awful, and then they won me back with Death Magnetic, and then it's been sort of an up and down road since then.
I think it was Saint Anger the double album. No, what was the
Hardwired for Self-Destruct is the double album.
Okay.
They might have more than one double album. I didn't get all the way through Saint Anger before I gave up. So
okay. All right. We don't need to belabor this topic, but go check that out. All right.
Yes.
All right. We will be back when? I don't know. Training camp?
Training camp.
Yep. Is that too far away?
Unless something wacky happens.
I
like
hope.
the XFL merges with the NFL or something.
Oh my God. And the ruffians or whatever. And what's
by the way, some persistent rumors that the XFL and the CFL are making overtures about merging. Why not?
I kind of like that. That's fine. Like I'm all right for that. Yep. I'm all right for that.
All right, we're done. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Hopefully your draft went well for your team. I think it did for all three of ours. 3 for 3. Not bad. All right. We're out of here. Peace out. See ya.